love inspiring healthy living.
After facing family health challenges and seeing how natural solutions transformed our lives,
we are determined to help other mamas thrive, not just survive. What if feeling awesome every day is possible for you and your family?
Come along with us on our natural journey. All right.
Hi, I'm Robin.
And I'm Julie.
Welcome to our podcast called
Helping Mamas Thrive.
Yes, but the episode is called
Episode 14, A Healing Mama Story. Right?
Yeah.
A Mama's Healing Story.
A Mama's Healing Story.
Mama's Healing Story.
So we have a special guest today, a very true, amazing person that I love so much. You do too. We all
yes.
Everybody loves her. I've never met anybody that didn't.
Right?
Carrie McVige. How do you pronounce your last name?
McVige.
Yeah. Okay. And I just, if you don't mind, Carrie, let me say, I met Carrie because I was looking for an emotional release provider. And so I had posted in one of our Young Living Facebook groups asking, and somebody connected me with Carrie, and I have never looked back since because she's such a special person. She does emotional release on me and my son, Jonathan, and her brain just knows so much and her heart is full to help people heal. And I'm so honored to know her and be her friend and so happy to have her here today.
So true. We're so excited. And it's interesting to be in the presence of a healer is a very interesting thing because I haven't been in the presence of a lot of healers before. And there's a very different presence. And it's interesting. It reminds me of what I would imagine if I would have ever spent time with Gary Young, if I was in his presence. It's like just this aura, or I don't know. I can't really explain it. But it's this calmness of everything is just fine and good. And so I've had the pleasure of taking several classes from Carrie. The Healing Oils of the Bible class was like the most amazing, transformative class.
Oh, yeah.
And when you did that
anointing,
it was unbelievable. So I just am super blessed by you and thankful that you walk this earth and that Robin was able to connect me to you. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah. So let's start. We just took an oil, but I kind of want something energizing. Can you in your purse there? Julie gave me peace and calming, but she was about to ask Carrie, what oil are you using right this second, Carrie?
I think the last oil I put on was Progessence Plus earlier. And before that, it was Cistus and Clove.
Oh,
yeah, Cistus.
Carrie loves Cistus.
Love that oil.
I'm putting energy on. Okay, that was good.
Okay.
Oh, Three Wise Men. I also put some Three Wise Men on.
Nice.
Yes.
Do we want to start with her healing story?
Yes.
Or how about Carrie, do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah.
And it kind of it will move right into your story.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you both so much for inviting me to share. And it's a real honor to be able to help whomever God brings into my classes. And I just, I think the world of both of you, and I love watching your videos and the things that you post on Facebook. And I really appreciate each of you. So I am now a grandmother, and in my previous life, I feel like a cat with many lives, and I don't know, I'm on about 6 or 7 right now, I think. And in one of those previous lives, all I wanted was to be a wife and a mom, and that plan was a little bit rocky, but it was going along okay until baby number 3 came out of me very messed up. So when my third baby was born, she had little clubbed feet that kind of wrapped around her ankles and her knees bent backwards, and she had very dysmorphic features. And the midwife just scooped her up and told me congratulations and put her in my arms. And that was what I call the one perfect moment, because then they took her away from me and I didn't get to see her, hold her, or know anything about her condition for 2 full days. That really was hard. And I spent like the next 6 weeks living in and out of a NICU unit. Of course, they don't let parents stay in the NICU. So I had to stay elsewhere and come back and forth. But basically, the doctors told me, they didn't know what was wrong with her. She had a chromosomal abnormality. We found out later that had happened sometime after conception. And then I spent the next 2.5 years averaging 10 days a month in a hospital somewhere. I learned to keep a bag packed because I never knew from morning till afternoon if I was going to end up in a hospital that night with her, because she was just very fragile. So towards the end of her life, we had maybe 1 year of normalcy where I couldn't go anywhere, but we were at least not spending so much time in a hospital, but I was mostly home. And she always had tubing of some sort, either a jejunal feeding tube, a G tube, oxygen tank, that sort of thing. So I didn't get good sleep. I had to always, wake up and deal with machines and getting her situated, because if she rolled over, some machine would be beeping and I would have to, take care of it. So we lost one of her feeding tubes towards the end of her life, and the doctors made this ethical decision to not replace it. And so they ended up sending me home on hospice care. And I got to watch her starve to death after 5 years of trying to keep her alive. And she was actually 6 when she passed away. But the last year was quite the strain on everyone. And I got very, very ill. We had mold develop in our home during one of those last marathon hospital stays. And so I had a lot of grief, and then the mold, and I ended up with sores that wouldn't heal on the corners of my mouth. I ended up with 6 root canals that I got to pay to get undone later, as of all the mold and yeast in my body. So I lost my daughter, I lost my house to mold, and I lost my health all in one fell swoop. And it's interesting at this point looking back, because she passed away in 2001, and here we are, 2023, right? And some moments are just still like crystal clear and as if it happened yesterday. And then other things that happened, it's almost like it happened to somebody else, but it's like the healing part is just a part of my being. And in other words, it's like, it's why I care, and it's why I recognize the pain and the suffering in other people. It's not that I'm still in that same place of pain and suffering, but I easily and readily empathize with the pain and suffering in the other person because of walking through what I did with losing her and losing my health, and then having to really work hard to regain my health and recover from such a great loss. So what happened first was I went to see a naturopath who got me somewhat on a healing path, because he began to teach me how the body works. And he convinced me that the sugar that I was self-medicating with was really not my friend. So he got me to quit sugar and quit wheat and quit corn, because with some testing he did, we found those were kind of the foods that were causing my body the most harm. So
Can I pause you and ask a question real quick, Carrie?
Absolutely.
So, all this time when this was happening to you, were you in the traditional medical model? Had you dabbled in the natural world at all before this?
No. So I had actually started going to doctors before my daughter passed away, saying, look, I don't feel good. I can't function. I can't stay on my feet for more than, a few minutes at a time. If I bend over to pick something up, like a dirty sock off the floor from one of the other kids, I'm passing out almost, and I would get really dizzy. And their response was to pat me on the back and say, oh, it's just grief. Here's another prescription for another antihistamine. They were giving me decongestants and antihistamines, when what was really going on is, a body full of yeast and mold and mercury from the amalgams that were, in every quadrant of my head. And while, yes, I was also grief stricken as a mom, knowing her child is probably going to die, that was not the root cause of my health problems. It was interesting, though, because the dentist that I went to, she at least identified that I had a major yeast overgrowth problem. She said that the sores that weren't healing in my mouth were from yeast, but her only suggestion for dealing with it was to write me a prescription for diflucan and tell me, well, maybe this will help. You can't take it like too much because it'll like mess up your liver or something. But here's your prescription anyway.
Right. That's for our listeners, because I learned this when I got my amalgams taken out. In case you don't know what an amalgam is the mercury, the silver fillings, not silver, but they look silver in our mouth, and they have heavy metals, and they're very, very bad for us. So that was what Carrie was talking about. So Carrie, like, what made you go to the naturopath, take that first step?
Well, the last straw is a friend of mine who knew about my daughter and knew about my health problems. She had recommended that I go see the natural doctor in town. And what was interesting is that this person was known as the natural doctor, but they really weren't. They just, I don't even know how to explain how they got this title of natural doctor, because when I went to see them, they again patted me on the back, because I told them what was going on with my daughter and my health, and oh, it's just grief. I'm really sorry, but in addition to the antihistamine and the decongestant, all I can offer you is this free month's supply of Paxil and a prescription. And I was like dumbfounded. I left there. I didn't take the Paxil. I threw it away, and I told God I would rather die. Again, a Western medical doctor is not listening to me. It's like, because I had said, I've already tried the antihistamines. I've already tried the decongestants. And you would think a natural practitioner at this point would, because the information about mold, yeast, and mercury amalgams was already out there. We weren't in the dark ages. We did still I mean, we did have the internet already, and there were quite a few people writing articles and explaining these connections and what happens in the body when you have those toxicities. So anyway, that was the point I walked away from traditional Western medical people, or at least I walked away from seeking help from them. And I would still, accept certain advice, and I would certainly go to somebody for trauma care if I needed to. If I was in a really bad accident, or needed a bone set or something really serious, right, I would go for help.
Yeah, the reason I ask that is just that people, it's so hard sometimes to make the leap from traditional to a more natural way. And you don't have to do it all at the same time. It can be a journey. It's just an interesting, when we talk to the people and their healing stories, I just always want to talk about, like, how did you get here?
Absolutely. And I'm often curious about that as well. When I talk with people, I tend to ask them, what was it that helped you see a different path? Because what happened after I left that particular doctor, I told the person who referred me, and they didn't give up. They said later, they said, oh, I heard about this naturopath, and they actually referred me to this naturopath. And that's the one who really started educating me about how the body works. And so maybe that's partly why I try to educate so much, because I think a lot of people just don't have enough information on what else they could try.
Right.
And it's kind of funny too, though, because not funny. I think it's just a human nature issue that a lot of people have a very closed mind. And I was thinking this morning about that quote, that the most expensive thing to own is a closed mind.
Oh.
And it can cost you your life.
So profound.
That's true. I mean, there are people in my life currently who are suffering. They're going to specialist. And, the people who are open-minded in my family are trying to say certain things to help them, and they will not have it. They will not listen, even when they hear healing stories.
Yes.
And so their health is plummeting. You too.
Yeah, that is so true. And the true definition of good science is the constant pursuit of accurate information. And so if you're closed off from so many of these ideas and thoughts, you're never going to really get to the accurate information. So I love that you said that, Carrie. That was like amazing. I'm going to try and remember that.
I wrote it down.
I love it.
I wrote it down. We're going to quote you.
That's going in the show notes.
Great. Yeah. So the naturopath, he got me taking supplements, changing my diet. He actually sent me back to a regular Western doctor to get blood work done. And that was interesting because it showed that my thyroid was actually a little bit low. And that would explain some of the dizziness that I was experiencing. And so he got me taking, some supplements to support my thyroid and the hypothalamus. And I did get a little bit better, but I still had no energy. I got a little bit more of my cognition back, but at one point I had so much brain fog. If I read a paragraph, I couldn't tell you what the first sentence of the paragraph said. I had lost this ability to remember and learn from what I was reading. And before I had my daughter, I had been a very avid reader, and I really enjoyed reading and learning from from written material. And that was something that I'll never forget, losing and then regaining. But the way I regained it came later. So my daughter passed away in 2001, and it was right around that same year that I went to see the nature path and started working on, supplementation and changing my diet, and then changing my children's diet, which is even harder than changing your own diet. And I have to tell a funny story before I go on, because this is for my kids and my mom. So one year, I can't remember if it was the first year after my daughter had died or the next year, but my mother was asking the other children, to write a list for what they wanted for Christmas presents. And so they had done that, and I sent it to her. And then I get this phone call from my mom. And my mom says, Carrie, I really have to ask you something about this list. The kids put cereal on their Christmas list. Are they serious? They really want a box of cereal?
You're like, yeah, I don't serve it.
But, I had read the Nourishing Traditions cookbook, and she has a little blurb in there about how these mice that ate Cheerios died before the mice that ate the box. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't be feeding my children Cheerios anymore.
Wow, I didn't know that, but I believe it.
Wow.
Scary.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So it was funny. So anyway, changed diets, and I still had very little energy. I never woke up feeling refreshed, even though I knew that I had slept all night. And I would literally wake up in the mornings and go to my bathroom mirror and do this to my head, because I always had this feeling that my head was 3 times bigger than it actually was. It was the strangest sensation. And so a few years had gone by of these radical diet changes, and I'm still not all that better. And I got a notice on my inbox in a homeschool group that somebody was going to be teaching Healing Oils, the Bible class, 3 hours from where I lived. So I contacted that person, and I told them my story, and I said, I'm too sick. I don't have the energy to drive 3 hours to where you're going to be. Would you come to my house and teach me? Because I'm very, very interested. The whole time my daughter was alive, and even after, I had been reading the Bible for myself, and I would ask different people who profess to be Christians if they knew anything about the essential oils that were mentioned in the Bible, and nobody knew anything. So, of course, this class titled Healing Oils, the Bible caught my attention. So this woman came to my house, and she had told me over the phone that she was learning to do something, and she didn't know if it would help me, but she was willing to try if I was willing to try. And I'm like, well, absolutely, I'm willing to try. That's why I contacted you, right? And I don't remember exactly what she said. I had too much brain fog at the time when I talked to her. I just remember thinking and responding to the kindness in her voice. So she came over, we set the date, she came over, she laid me on a massage table that she brought with her, and she put a bunch of oils on my feet and my back. And then she taught the Healing Oils, the Bible class. And so I think I probably had about 25 or 30 different essential oils and blends on my body and in my hands, and smelling them that afternoon and evening. And then the next morning, I woke up happy for the first time in 10 years. And
Wow.
I remember waking up thinking, wow, the way I feel, how did I lose this, for one? And that was the first question after I realized how happy I felt. I was like, wow, how did I lose happy? And the answer was, I lost happy right after my third daughter was born, and they took her away from me for those 2 full days. And knowing what I know now about that third stage and fourth stage, they call it, of labor, you know, right after that baby's born, you really should have that baby skin to skin. And that causes this beautiful oxytocin hormonal cascade that covers all the stress hormones from the actual labor and delivery, and helps your milk come in. And of course, since I couldn't nurse her right away, I had tried to pump. They'd given me the mechanical breast pumps and oxytocin nose spray, but with the stress of all that and not having that time, that 2 to 3 hours with her skin to skin on my chest, my milk just dried up. And so it was just this beautiful realization that had I gone, you know, to probably a traditional OBGYN, they would have just put me on antidepressants right then, you know. So thankfully I didn't do that, because I'd have probably been even worse off health-wise later. So I held on until these beautiful oils came into my life, and the oils that were put on while I was on the massage table were, of course, called raindrop technique. So raindrop technique and healing oils of the Bible, to this day, they're still my happy oils, I call them, because anytime I give somebody else a raindrop, I feel happy. And
Nice.
if I don't give somebody raindrop for, 3, 4, 5 days, then I'll realize, oh, I'm a little bit raindrop deficient, and I've got to put them on my feet.
Oh, I'm a volunteer. When
Right.
you become deficient, you can call me and I will drive over and be the person to make you happy.
Okay. I'll text you.
That's cool. Just so everybody knows, Carrie, you only use Young Living, right? I just want to make that a point, because as part of your healing, it's just very important to understand that that's the only that's what you used.
And I'm glad you brought that up too, because, since I had been reading in the Bible about these oils, I had actually bought essential oils off the internet, and other people over the years had said, well, essential oils are natural antibiotics. And so every so often I would buy something from somewhere, and I would smell it, and I would instantly be reminded of the aisle in the grocery store with all the cleaning products. And, yes. And I'm like, this is not good. I can't stand the smell of this. And it wasn't until getting the book of Dr. Stewart's on the chemistry of essential oils that I understood why that was. And, the average person, they don't know about the industry of perfume. So the perfume industry is so big, and the essential oils that are produced with healing intention, that market is a much smaller market. So there's a lot to learn about aromatherapy, and purity matters. So, but all that came later, as I started using Young Living's essential oils. And then I went to a training and I got more understanding and bought more books. And then, before you know it, you're going to see a farm and going to the distillery and there's nothing that really can replace that firsthand experience of what we call the seed to seal process, right? I mean, because you guys have been there, you've been to some farms and distilleries.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say what you just said, because Julie and I always talk about in natural health, essential oils being almost a missing component in a lot of the natural world. I mean, a lot of people do use them, but a lot of people don't. Mm-hmm. And they just really elevate your wellness to a whole other stratosphere, mm-hmm. I feel like. Do you agree with that, Julie?
Yes, I think so. And over the years, since they kind of are everywhere, they're in Walmart, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I think it has downgraded the idea that these could be used as part of your body's ability to heal. So it's unfortunate because I feel like it has muddied the waters a little bit. But that just means that we have to shout louder. We have to get the message out there more so people know that there is a set of essential oils that do things for our body that can heal us. So
yeah, I do think it's just so interesting that the diet and the supplements, they took you, they helped you, but the oils were the cake or the icing. I don't know the great analogy, but those are what sealed the deal for you, right?
Well, the spiritual, emotional part of our very essence is typically not handled by Western pharmaceuticals or diet and nutrition. It's like diet and nutrition is foundational, but it can only go so far for helping a person spiritually and emotionally. So the essential oils' ability to go right to the limbic region of the brain and help you with processing emotions is the key. It's a key component to everybody's needs, because we're a spiritual being having this physical earthly experience, and the essential oils I find so fascinating all the time. I call them a Holy Spirit bridge, because I see so many people, including myself, be able to finally make spiritual and emotional connections to what's going on in their body when they start using them regularly. And so there's so many books out there now about, the body keeps the score, and the way the body stores things is well documented now. And I think, if you go back to the question asked earlier about, how did I make this transition away from only Western medicine to a more natural way of living, it's with this information, and where we get our information matters. And with the world of aromatherapy, I think, Gary Young just pioneered education of the people. And I'm so thankful that I got to hear him in person finally, and over a number of years. From 2010 was, I think, the first time I heard him speak in person. And then through 2014 and 15, I was able to be at a number of different events where he spoke directly to us. And so I got to learn so much from not just what he said, but his actions. And, he was just such a magnanimous being. And I watched him do some things in how he spoke to other people that really changed my heart. And I think really good teachers, they will say, there's never a dumb question, and right. Because it's like the person has to feel safe to ask a question in order to really learn sometimes. And that's one of the things people often get afraid of asking a question, because they don't want to be the person that's asking the dumb question, right? And I watched Gary be just so sweet and kind to this person who I felt was wasting his time by asking a dumb question, a question that if she had read all the books that I had read, she wouldn't need to ask that question, right? But I learned so much from that and so many other situations, just being around him, because he really had such a passion for teaching people. And I think that's just a rare gift, the teacher gift. But I've thought a lot about how you can get people to start reading more and actually guide them to this aromatherapy education in a way that's inspiring. And because we have these computers, so right here at our fingertips, we can actually find a lot if we just have somebody leaving us a few breadcrumb trails, right? Where to go next, what to study next.
Yeah. Can we talk about how you studied? You have quite a few certifications. You've been through a lot of training. You have been a trainer. So can you just take us through your journey of, because when you jumped in, you really jumped in.
I did, yes. So the first thing was the woman who gave me that raindrop and first healing oils, the Bible class. She said to me, okay, you have to buy this book. So right off the bat, I bought an essential oils desk reference. It was the 3rd edition. I highly recommend it. And she began training me by telling me to start reading that book. And anytime, something that my kids or my friends asked me, she said, okay, look it up in the book before you talk to me. Like, if I called her or she called me and we were talking about something and I asked her a question, she would say, did you look it up in the EODR, Essential Oil Desk Reference? And I'd be like, oh, okay. So she taught me right away to always look it up in the book before I would ask for more help. So I started with that, and that is a great place for anybody to start. And even the pocket references in basically any of the editions of the essential oil desk reference that you can find out there, because they're not in print right now, you can learn from. They are out there on the market. You just have to look in the used book sites and look on Amazon. And I think Oil Revolution Designs might have a few 8th editions still in stock. So I started there. And then I went to what's called a care intensive. And everybody should go to raindroptraining.com and start reading through the article archives. It's free. And in the article archives, they're short articles that deal with different aromatherapy subjects in such a concise, beautiful, easy to learn from manner. So I started doing that.
What's the website again?
Raindroptraining.com. And raindroptraining.com was started because Gary Young was teaching raindrop and emotional release, but he was traveling, and he'd teach portions of the material in one place, and it wasn't all in a concise manner. It wasn't in like a 4-day workshop manner. It was kind of a as you go by the way manner. So he taught a huge raindrop workshop in Dallas, Texas, I think in 2001. And some of the people who were there put their heads together and said, let's create this training program. Let's put all this into one package so that people can easily learn in a step-by-step manner healing oils of the Bible, VitaFlex technique, raindrop technique, the chemistry of essential oils, and emotional release. So that way, all areas of the body, heart, mind, soul, and spirit are all addressed at the same time. So that is how raindroptraining.com came into being. And Dr. Stewart and his wife Lee have both passed on now, and their son Anthony is at the helm and doing a great job. And so anybody can go to that website and look for an instructor or look for a raindrop practitioner. If you haven't experienced raindrop, don't have somebody in your area, just get on that website and start asking the instructors that are listed there that are in your area. So that's what I did initially. I went to that care, I bought all the books, I came home, I started giving people raindrop, and amazing things began to happen. So I just kept checking off the little boxes in what's called the care handbook. And that handbook is a guideline for an excellent foundation in applied aromatherapy studies. And it also, if you follow it, you'll end up being a raindrop practitioner or may keep going and become a care instructor. And I went through becoming a supervising care instructor and loved that and helped quite a few people become raindrop practitioners and instructors. And then I got too busy because I also love working with, you can see in the background, tuning forks and gemstones. And
I'm glad you said that. I have a little note here for you to explain what's behind you so people don't think you're in a gynecologist office.
Yes. So in 2011, Dr. Christy Bonds Garrett came to a care summit, which is a gathering of all the care instructors. And she taught 40 of us care instructors how to do what's called planetary vibrational raindrop technique. And it's incorporating tuning forks with gemstones, with the oils, and I call it raindrop on steroids because it's really layers of healing frequency. And some of the tuning forks go directly on meridian pathways on the body and VitaFlex points, and then some of the frequencies are used just around and over the body.
Just let me pause you for a second, Carrie. So, when Carrie's in town, I try to have a service like every month, and I go there and I would want to do emotional release or something. And she's like, no, we're doing a planetary vibrational blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, whatever you say, Carrie. She'll be like, today we're doing a digestive blah, blah.
Yes, so in the Essential Oils Desk reference, Gary Young created this chart of body systems and how to adapt raindrop to support a specific body system. So what Dr. Christie did is add healing frequencies for those body systems to just further empower us with tools and skills to support our body working the way it was designed to.
Woo, we love to say that. That's our favorite thing.
Love it.
Yes. So I became an instructor with Aroma Sounds. And at a certain point, a few years back, I just decided that as a diamond in Young Living and loving to work with the tuning forks, I couldn't keep up with being a care instructor too. You know, there's only so many hats that can go on one head. So now my husband is going to peek in and say hello.
And then God said, you must take time for your husband. And so, you know, she just had to slow down.
Hi, Michael. This is our podcast. And so before we started even, we were talking about you visiting. And then yesterday when you guys saw Jonathan, he was like, bye, Michael, you can go to the gym now. So he could be with Carrie alone.
Yes. Yes.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How have you been?
Good. Will you be at convention too?
Yes.
Yay!
Will you be at convention too?
Yes, we'll see you there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. Will we air this before convention?
Oh, yes, we will try.
will?
We
Okay.
will. It's always me like trying to get the podcast out, and Mama's like, is it posted yet? I'm like, yeah, so we'll get it out before convention.
All right.
Have fun. Goodbye.
Bye. Awesome. So I have a question. I don't know if you have any.
Well, you're currently working on another certification,
She got
right?
She got it.
Oh, you're finished.
Right. So I am also a Florida LMT now, a licensed massage therapist. And yes, thank you.
I'm also a volunteer for that project.
We will all take one for the team. I mean, if anytime.
It was great. Carrie's like, instead of emotional release, I need to do this massage thingy to you. I'm like, okay.
That is so cool. That's a really intense certification. That's a lot of, how many hours is that?
Oh, it was like over 700 hours.
Wow. Amazing.
It is a lot of work and a lot of studies, but you know, I'm really glad that I did that. And I I had a couple of serious challenges in losing my best friend to cancer, and decided that to survive her leaving the planet, I needed to really do something to keep myself focused and positive and working on something that I could keep helping people with. And so I also felt like, you know, I've been doing courses for massage therapists all these years because I got certified as a care instructor in 2010, and yet I wasn't ever a massage therapist. And so I kind of felt like here I was teaching therapists for continuing ed credits, but not being a therapist myself. And I kind of felt like that was not necessarily wrong, because it's like a different material than what they're taught. But I felt like I would be a better teacher if I had that background as well. And I also love just learning how the body works and body work techniques and I'm also a registered yoga teacher with the Yoga Alliance. I have my 200-hour holy yoga certification. And one of my favorite classes that I took in yoga at a fitness center once was a yin massage class where one person is teaching, and then there were two massage therapists that were going around the room massaging specific body parts as we did these poses and held them for a long time. And I felt so amazing after that class that it was always in the back of my mind And because it's not offered in a lot of places, because you have to have multiple instructors who are very skilled in body work to do the class. So I had it in mind at some point that I want to start offering that with oils, because when you are breathing oils and moving with intention and having somebody else help you with the laying on of hands and massage, it's just, I think the sky's the limit as to how we can help people feel better.
Right.
Awesome.
That's
So,
amazing.
before we tie this up, I just wanted you to parlay some advice to people, to moms. What would you say to them, either if they're struggling with their health, or even if they're not, just they have a family and they're in charge of their family's health? What would you say to them?
I would say you cannot neglect your own self-care. You have to prioritize taking care of yourself. It's like, it gets old, but every time you get on an airplane, they tell you, put your own oxygen mask on first.
Right.
And it can feel like overwhelming and hard, but moms need to ask others around them for the support they need. So if you as a mom don't know how to put your own oxygen mask on first, you need to find somebody to help you do that. So that's what I would say, because it was hard for me to figure that out. And your first baby, maybe you don't need help, maybe you got it all under control. But that third baby of mine, I did not have it under control. and I had to learn to ask the people around me. I don't know, maybe because we're just in such a suck it up and drive on society we used to be. I don't know. Now I think things are changing. The younger generation seems more willing to talk about how they're really feeling. But they may not have the skills to still know how to ask. So that's what I would say. Ask for help if you need it.
Right. Awesome.
That's so great. No, if people are local and interested in getting some of these different massages, or how can we put something in the show notes for them to contact you? Or
Absolutely. I'm always happy to hear from local people. They can make an appointment. I like to teach more than doing individual sessions, just time wise. So, but I kind of like a balance. So if I have time, I'm happy to take private appointments.
Okay.
Awesome.
But you will also do trainings for people who need CEUs for different.
Yes.
Things? Okay.
Yes. And, you don't even have to need the CEs to take the classes, to just learn more how to take care of your own family and friends. Right. I think there's usually kind of a 50-50 mix in classes of people that actually need the continuing ed credits and people that just want the healing information.
It's amazing. Cool. When we did our raindrop, when you taught us all raindrop, that was so amazing to do that as a group, because you learn so much more. It's absolutely amazing. And that was a really impactful class.
It was a hands-on. So yes. I like hands-on learning because you can read about something and it makes sense, but when you experience it, it's a little different.
Absolutely.
But anytime we have a class at Carrie's, everybody's like, "Oh, we're gonna have it at Carrie's house."
And they get into all the tools, like, what are these tuning forks? What are these crystals? What are these bubbles?
What are these? Yeah.
times that everything is like it's truly an experience. So we just really appreciate all that you give back to those and pour into others. We're very grateful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you do contact Carrie and you already oil with me, please tell her that,
Yep.
and Julie, it helps to know who you're already in contact with. Yeah, connected.
Connected.
Exactly.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Carrie. And thank you everybody for listening or watching, and we'll get you next time.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.
You at the convention.
Thanks. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And if you want to support our show, give us a 5-star rating.
To learn more about our practice, visit athelivingtree.com.